Okay, please be seated. At this point, as always, we're blessed to have Elder Barbara Nepernick. We'd be most pleased to hear a blessing at this point.
Thank you, miigwech. It's always an honor to come here and do a prayer for this event. I pray in my language, the Anishinaabe language, and I have had a very long day. My driver, my security, my relative is here with me, and take care of me. So we spent all day together. This is our second event today. In my prayer, I ask for strength and guidance, and that we develop those allies when people start talking about reconciliation. But I always pray for those people that are homeless, because they have a story. We all have a story. I pray for children that are in care. I pray for people that are dealing with mental illness, and also people that have addictions. In my culture, my teachings, and I've been taught by my parents and my grandparents to always be kind and always think of those others that have challenges. So that's what I pray for. And I'll pray for each and every one of you in your wellness. And so with that, I will do my prayer in Anishinaabe. My traditional name is Nijobenesikwe, which means two Thunderbird woman, and I'm from the Bear Clan. And I have been given tobacco through that prayer because that is the right protocol, and I always appreciate that. So with that, Nijobenesikwe diu makundute. Mamase magagi meshire na maguan. Chabagagi samakishe manito. Chisahi huang. Chiwabande huang minabimati siwin. Ambengo kitene makni nanik mesiga shekushin wat. Gone dumot. Abin chiga hot again. Mesiga yawat. Agish naden damawat. Kabatakudis wat. Kega ikachiwani king. Chenametamongetigiek. In a shuna den dunk. Madashig and Chile, the biggest get to one, how much be able to one gigitoin. Chibagagi smakishamito. Chimini wong so gitavin. Chimanachi tiang. Chiwichi tiang magabno saying a king. I beg away. Kashibago send me one. Chibagagi smakishamito. Take a much mini wong, minabimati Many shimagain in the songs young. I'll me wet on go my wish, but was send a banung. Me west the ketama, you get to one each hour. Did I am a magani about it? But a sheer get chin and don't get to one much nibavian. I'll be wet on go my wish, but was send a ban. I thank each and every one of you for being here. I embrace you all, my friends and relatives. I hope you learned something new today. Reconciliation is a big challenge, and we're all dealing with that. And so thank you for being here today. Miigwech.
Thank you, Elder Nepernick. Of course, it's always our honor to have you here and to hear your blessings during these events. So thank you once again for being here. Your Honor, at this point, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Thank you, Elder Nepernick. We saw each other earlier today, and as always, we're pleased to have you here. Friends, Mayor Chud, we're particularly pleased that you've driven in from Gimli for us tonight. And friends and fellow Manitobans, welcome to Government House, and welcome to all those who are watching this on a live stream. We know that there are many of you out there, and we're pleased that you are participating in our final presentation in the Reconciliation Through Education series. Welcome back to many of you, and to those attending for the first time, thank you for your decision to learn, to listen, and indeed to share. As we gather on Treaty 1 land and in the heartland of the Red River Métis, and that this province of Manitoba is located on the ancestral and present-day home of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Dakota, the Dene, the Nahoto Nation, and Red River Métis peoples. As well, northern Manitoba includes lands that have been and still are home to the Inuit. Manitobans respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making, and we remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. This speaker series, like the last several decades, has been a journey of learning. It came together with the guidance and insights from the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, where Stephanie Scott and her incredible team were open to collaborative work to bring this together. For the NCTR, this was an opportunity to reach a new audience, and reach it they have with depth, insight, and heartfelt honesty. I look forward to future opportunities to work together with Stephanie and her team. This is not the end. This series has given us the opportunity to explore many of the complex impacts of the residential school system and ideas for building a better Canada on truth and reconciliation. Earlier this month, we reflected on the role of one individual in making that journey possible. The Honourable Murray Sinclair was in many ways the catalyst for this speaker series for the National Centre of Truth and Reconciliation, and for countless other steps on the road to reconciliation. I had the honor and pleasure of getting to know Murray Sinclair quite a few years ago, before his work in the 1990s on the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry. As many people have recalled over the last weeks, his kindness, his compassion, and his commitment to justice touched countless lives. From the beginning of my connection with Murray Sinclair, I was struck by his commitment to learning. He believed that education in all forms, in the school and post-secondary system, and in public education, was essential if we were to understand, to heal, and to move forward. When I was appointed Lieutenant Governor, I turned to Murray for advice on how I could use this office to advance reconciliation. He generously provided the benefit of his wisdom, in part leading to this speaker series. One of his precepts that we have heard many times that became famous after the release of the Royal Commission on Truth and Reconciliation was, and I'm sure many of you have heard it, and I quote, "Education got us into this mess, education will get us out of it," end of quote. These educational gatherings and countless other experiences that broaden our understanding help us to see a path forward. I welcome this evening our final speaker of the series, Reverend Tanis McLeod Kolisnyk, a coordinator at Rupert's Land, Wet'suwet'en. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I also learned tonight that she's at Winnipeg Beach 6 months of the year, which I am as well. Tonight she will discuss the topic of what is reconciliation, allyships in a colonized Canada, end of quote. I thank all those at the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation for making this series possible. I would also like to thank everybody who has taken the step of attending this series. Many of you, all of the lectures, some of you, some of the lectures, but all are welcome, and I hope you'll continue to coming. to what we have to offer in the future. Thank you all. Merci, miigwech, and shalom.
Well, good evening, everyone. Your Honor, Lieutenant Governor Anita Neville, your welcome has been warm. To our elders here today, honored guests, and all gathered here this evening, miigwech, merci, and thank you for inviting me to come and discuss and explore this topic of what is reconciliation, allyship in a colonized Canada. We are going to ponder ways of moving forward together tonight. So this is for all of us, a topic to build on this series of presentations. You've had presentations on residential schools, on intergenerational impacts, on unconscious bias, on UNDRIP, and more. So Your Honor, thank you for opening up these kind of discussions and also for being a champion in bringing people together. Your lifetime of service to others inspires me to do more. I would also like to acknowledge and remember the work of Senator Murray Sinclair, a person of integrity and a heart for this journey of reconciliation. We thank him for being the plow in the hard soil on our pathway that continues to be an important task for generations to come. So as mentioned, my name is Reverend Tanis McLeod Kolisnyk. It's customary as an Indigenous person to share my connection to this land when we first meet each other. My Métis family is rooted here in Red River, in Tyndall and the East Selkirk area, part of my ancestral home. My family names include McLeods, Harpers, Irvings, Cummings, and Fiddlers, and I'm also connected to the Peguis First Nation as well. My Métis grandfathers and my father-in-law were all Canadian veterans. And this is indeed an honor to contribute to this conversation here in this place. I am a proud Métis Manitoban, and I am a member of MMF and the Kinu Métis Council here in the city of Winnipeg. So my husband Lorne and I have raised 4 grown adults, all here in Manitoba still, and we have 5 grandkids. So many blessings come from our family, and life is so good. Education here in Manitoba, and I did have some support from MMF on my journey. This has opened many doors for me as an adult learner. I have an MA Theology at the University of Winnipeg, and I completed a BA in Music and a Management Studies certificate as well. And now, in this part of my life, I get to teach courses in theology, in religion and culture, and in Indigenous studies. So at the UW, at CMU, the Canadian Mennonite University, and St. John's College. So that's all part of my life now. And I just retired from the University of Winnipeg after 20 plus years working in Indigenous student supports at UW. So I'm on a new chapter, so to be asked to speak this evening is indeed an honor. So that's a little bit about my background. And one other thing to mention is that In 2013, I was ordained in the Anglican Church of Canada at St. John's Cathedral here in Red River. I am a deacon in the Diocese of Rupert's Land, and I serve at Epiphany Indigenous Anglican Church in the North End here in Winnipeg, and also at St. Bartholomew's Anglican Church in Winnipeg Beach. So here are some photos that I think say a lot of things. Notice how at Epiphany we gather in a circle. There are symbols of Indigenous inclusion all around us. And the medicine wheel, the colors, and the teachings are all examples of pieces that provide a sense of belonging and welcome. The elders, Indigenous Circle of Rupert's Land, gave me the task of coordinating something we call Rupert's Land with Chetowin, which is a Cree word for people helping people. And they've given me the responsibility of being a knowledge keeper or a knowledge carrier. So I am still growing into that role. With God's help, I will be someone worthy of that title. So today, I wanted to show you, I brought an eagle's feather with me. This is a gift from the elders to give me courage and wisdom on this journey of learning, and I certainly need it tonight. So. This is a very exciting time to be Indigenous and Christian, and making efforts to find the common threads that bind us together. Reconciliation is the focus of my work in community, because choices are now possible. We can now embrace and integrate both ways of knowing God with no need to deny Indigenous culture alongside Christian faith in my faith tradition. I am thankful for the small part that I get to play in this work of reconciliation in community. So that's the lens that I will be approaching our discussion tonight. So what is reconciliation? One mentor of mine, Dr. Jane Barter, said in an article called Where the Good Way Lies, she said that the idea of reconciliation is too often focused on the past and therefore fails to attend to ongoing forms of colonization that remain deeply embedded within structures of Canadian society. This view also encourages us to think of Indigenous and non-Indigenous relationships not just as a past struggle, but as providing an opportunity now for us to live into a new kind of relationship. We can strive for justice and respectful and honest interactions now. In fact, we have a responsibility by treaty, by those covenants, to do so. We have a shared narrative, and we, all of us, have an obligation to make sense of how it is that we are here together. All Indigenous culture depends on story. We live by the stories we remember, stories maintained through relationships and embody them. So one thing we have to do, we have to be committed to, is to pass on the stories to our children, remembering us as proper relatedness to our ancestors and to the generations to come as well. True reconciliation involves right relationships, and right relationships involve getting to know one another. Building relationships is best done at a local level, and diversity in that regard is a beautiful thing. And we need a shared spirituality of unity. And still recognizing that we have differences between all of our different groups, and that is okay. Between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, life and experiences are varied, and that is okay. So what is this reconciliation that we're after? I've heard that it's not a noun, it's actually an action verb. And it's about partnerships with respect to the land as well. This is the part of our story that we talk about when we talk about treaties. And they're not just for governments of Canada to remember. They're for all of us, all Canadian citizens as well. It's important to find out whose land you are on. We had a land acknowledgement this evening. That's beautiful. What Indigenous organizations and groups are at work in your area, in your city, in your small town? And who can you connect with in those areas to build up those relationships? So friends, no matter whether you were born here in Canada or you became a Canadian citizen, you entered into treaty. I've been teaching a couple courses this term, and I've found a book called Our Home and Treaty Land by Raymond Aldred and Matthew Anderson. And one of the things these authors say in this book is that treaty is ceremony, and ceremony is covenant, and that this is a living document from the past, yes, but it's for now, and it's for the future. And I totally agree with that. Proper understanding and practice of this covenant points towards how to live in a good way with one another. And the land reminds us of this covenant. Part of living in a good way with our relatives, with each other, is recognizing the holiness of this land and this place. And that can be a challenge. But we have to remember that land is not just a resource. There is a mystery and a sacred relatedness that takes place between living beings. Our First Nations brothers and sisters often talk about all our relations. So this includes people, includes our ancestors, but it also includes all of nature. And if we can embrace treaty as covenant, I think that we will take our responsibilities in a different light. Now, there has certainly been some really great changes lately here in Manitoba. And I think of change for not just adults who are interested these days. I think about my grandkids and for generations to come. This is following this example of Indigenous elders who tell us about embracing 7 generations. And that should be our focus in all of our decision making. That is wise counsel. It is for the future of Manitoba that this work is being done now. It's for our future. For instance, the perceptions and the story of Red River leaders like Louis Riel, the beginning moments of Manitoba, our Manitoba government had the courage to relook at history, and they changed the narrative. And this courage spills over to relationship building right across Canada. That is good news. And another change that has taken place is us marking September 30th as the TRC Day and time to reflect on the 94 calls to action. This is a list of accountabilities. As Senator Murray St. Clair encouraged us, I loved when he said this, just pick one and get started already. This builds relationships, and this helps us to never forget or cease to work for reconciliation. It is intentional work, and it is a journey of truth-telling and education. And I really don't think that we're totally done with the truth-telling part. I know we want to be done with the truth-telling part, but we are not. There's more to learn. So together, we must peel away the decades of harm and the ongoing effects that deny Indigenous people respect and dignity as the first peoples of this land. Because together we've been listening to stories of pain. And now I think we've been starting to hear some stories of healing too. I think many of us know that racism and efforts to nurture Indigenous language, for example, these are still fragile. And we have to learn from the past and see patterns of injustice that continue today. We have to have our lenses open. Yes, thousands of children never returned home from residential schools, and those who did have been impacted, along with their next generation of family members. It is a painful history. It is, and it continues to be. One we know we must confront and acknowledge. So these are hard truths for the tellers of these stories, of these truths. And it's hard work for those who listen and accept the challenges ahead. Hope you're enjoying my slides. I had fun putting them together. Many people in Canada truly want to be a nation committed to reconciliation. I truly believe that. And I think that most of us here present tonight and those listening online, that is one reason why I'm so excited to be here tonight. It's not just about remembering the trauma and the loss, but it's also acknowledging the resilience and the strength of Indigenous peoples and communities across this land that we live in. Guided by the strength and wisdom of our Indigenous elders and our ancestors, this ongoing journey of looking for ways to engage all of us, non-Indigenous supporters included, is a new chapter in our life together here in Manitoba. I believe that Creator God has begun our healing when we open up ourselves, when we open up our wounds, when we open up our failures, and we open up to our shame. So I must give you a word of affirmation here, that by you attending this event, you are already on the pathway towards allyship. So thank you for being here. So together we can raise our voices to learn how to be advocates. And the key word here is together. Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, together we are going to make a difference. For people, just get another cough drop. For people active in all faith groups in our province of Manitoba, maybe it's little things like finding ways to incorporate Indigenous symbols in your worship. Maybe it's acknowledging the Indigenous territory on which we live, where we work, where we rest. I love watching a Jets game and seeing the opening every single time, because they do a great job of acknowledging the land, acknowledging the people. Maybe it's taking time to acknowledge the land and everything that it offers to us daily. Maybe it's searching out opportunities to engage with Indigenous elders in community and to learn more about the culture and growing respect for each other. All of these are important steps on this journey, as for all of us, we have to choose to be on this quest of building right relationships with the Indigenous people of this land. This is our Manitoba. This is our Canada, and it's up to us to do this, to build a stronger circle of caring. I like that, a stronger circle of caring, and being intentional about our efforts. I like to think of our efforts as giving each other grace and space for all involved. Now, I want to say to Indigenous people here tonight that we are in a time of growth as well. We are coming home to our traditions with a new sense of pride. we still seek home, but now alongside many non-Indigenous people in our circles. We are facing this truth of broken relationships and finding ways that how we can mend these things. And we, as Indigenous people, are discovering our voice in a world that discounted the Indigenous voice for far too long. We are all having to listen. We are all having to unlearn things and to learn anew. My inner prayer is that the Creator will help us find these right relationships in this place and have that finally come to be as it was meant to be. So everyone, we have to keep the truthful dialogue going, even though it's hard, with respect, with courage, and with love. So here on the slide, I found some pretty good imagery I wanted to share. I found one on the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation website and one on the Treaty Commission of Manitoba, the three-legged stool. It's a good image for the covenant that I was talking about, the treaty foundation we have made with each other. It's a firm footing between Indigenous, government, and Creator God, a three-legged stool that needs all parts to actively be involved in the balance of right relationship. If you take one of those away, it's all stumbly, okay? Need the three legs. This flame that many of us have seen along our journey if we've been following the work of the NCTR. The flame that burns at the center, this logo, symbolizes the 7 fires representing the 7 sacred teachings. Those 7 sacred teachings are respect, honesty, courage, love, humility, wisdom, and truth. And the fire represents our collective responsibility to care for and ensure that the fires of reconciliation lit across this country stay bright, right? It's up to us to ensure that those fires stay bright. Now, as you look at this image, you may also see 2 images, an image of 2 birds in the middle there. The birds represent our spirits being set free when our truth is told. And the 2 birds also represent some of the relationships that are necessary for the process of healing and reconciliation. And there's a variety of them. The relationship between survivors and intergenerational survivors. The relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. The relationship between parents and children. And the 3rd small flame within that fire represents all the children that have not been born yet, those to whom we are collectively accountable in our efforts to pass on a better world. And the circle around the flame represents our duty to protect the fire, while gaps in the circle indicate north, east, south, and west. I always have to remember my Girl Guide thing. Never eat soggy wieners. Do you remember that? North, east, south, and west. The 4 directions. And everyone is welcome to join the journey of reconciliation. I don't know why I just shared that. Sorry. So, reconciliation in action. Many people do want to know what they can practically do to further reconciliation, and I have some ideas. Reconciliation must become a way of life, and it will take many years to repair the damaged trust and relationships that have been broken in our Indigenous communities and between all people, settler and newcomer included. In the words of the TRC, it says that together Canadians must do more than talk. Do more than talk about reconciliation. We must learn how to practice it in our everyday lives, within ourselves, within our families, within our communities, and yes, our governments, our places of worship, our schools, and our workplaces as well. To do so constructively, Canadians must remain committed to the ongoing work of establishing and maintaining respectful relationships. We need to practice it more than talk. Reconciliation requires intentional action. So yes, we've heard apologies, and they have been received. But we also have to relearn a lot about Canada's national history. But also we need to watch out. Where are the real social changes that need to happen? Where are the political and economic changes that we can see that need to happen? Keep our eyes open. Ongoing public education and dialogue are essential to reconciliation. And we have to remember to work collaboratively with our Indigenous people, with our First Nations, with our Métis, and with our Inuit people. We need to work collaboratively and invite them around the table. The TRC reports also calls for settlers, scholars, and educators to revisit their past, their present, and their future. Now, I've worked within academic circles for quite a while, and I think that we have to really be aware. It is about consultation and collaboration. The collaboration with Indigenous scholars, please remember that, with Indigenous scholars. So if you are with a post-secondary education organization in the schools, take the time, post-secondary institutions, to know the land roots of your Indigenous teachers. We all have to do better, because we've been learning about recent breaches of trust in that regard, and the work is happening in academic circles to make this better. There's a lot of hard work going behind the scenes, but we have to do better in this regard. Reconciliation begins with each and every one of us. And I think that the land is a very good teacher. So maybe revisiting places or revisioning those places that you go. When we visit the vast prairie landscapes, when we go for a drive and see the lush grains, the lush fields of grain, the sunflower seeds, I don't understand why farmers don't harvest them when they're all beautiful and they just have to get all black and dried out sunflowers. Have you ever noticed that? I know. So there's things I gotta research. Lush fields of grain, maybe they're sweet. Maybe you're seeing the fishers of Lake Winnipeg harvesting fish and the resources early in the morning when they come off the lake. When you see the mighty trees of our forests providing wood for heat and lodging and habitat for the creatures of this land, those are all gifts. Those are all gifts from the land for each of us. The land is a good teacher. Here on Treaty 1 and the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation, we made promises to each other. And this land remembers. This land is alive. And we need to be good stewards of the land, which gifts us with these resources. But it also holds our dreams and answers to many life questions. So, what can you do about that? I'll give you some examples. Stay a while. Sit down. Tell stories about the land that you love. Pack a picnic. Eat and drink, and offer something to those that came before. I love going to Birdsell Park and going down Cedar Bog Trail and places like that. Just quiet little places for you to sit and be and say miigwech, thank you. This land has shaped us, and we have to learn the stories of this land. All of us do. We have to take time to visit those historical sites that we have and take time to connect to the land and those who made this precious life possible that we have. We have so many blessings, and don't take those for granted. Reconciliation begins with finding the things that really matter. So clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all things that really matter. We have to get rid of some attitudes. And one of the attitudes I think that we need to lose is that this is not my issue. Wrong attitude. I don't have to deal with it. No, I'm telling you, no, that is not the truth. If you reside here in Manitoba, it is your issue. It's your issue as well. But you are not alone in this. We can do this work together. In fact, we need to do this together. We need you. So if you hear that, it's not my issue. It happened long ago. That is not true. We cannot make great progress towards reconciliation without decolonizing our country of Canada. Another truth is that many Canadians don't think that colonization is a problem, and they deny that it requires a cure. But we've been invited to be a part of something so good at this time in our history. Now, we know that we still have structures of oppression, race-based laws, such as the Indian Act. There's lots of work left to be done and explored. We have heard stories of domination and how policies have impeded Indigenous people of this land, how colonization harms are still with us. What are we leaving to our kids? We can't ignore this. It's too important to leave a better life for our children. Okay? There are colonization harms that are still with us. We have to change our mindset, and we have to have the courage and take the risks needed to build better relationships. And that will lead to mending with each other and with this world. Now, I am very hopeful about this, but there are still many unchallenged structures where racism and oppression are at work in society, and all are affected, the privileged folks and the injured folks. But we all need to be in this healing journey together. Institutions, and even business, for example, are starting to recognize that there is value in the Indigenous contribution around the board table and the decision-making. These are steps forward in reconciliation. But please be clear that it is not supposed to be just a token gesture. Okay? Relationship building must go both ways. So it is time for power structures to listen. Instead of being the dominant voice over Indigenous contributions, let us have a voice. Go ahead, invite us to the table. It's going to be good, because there's critical hope. And we need to strive to maintain this critical hope, and this is rooted in our struggles for freedom. Revisiting our policies, that can sometimes feel like dry work, but it's important work. We need to critically reflect on social action as part of this healing journey. So maintaining critical hope reinforces our capacity to understand that though we cannot change the past, neither are we held prisoner of it. Daniel Shurganinsky said that. Though we cannot change the past, neither are we held prisoner by it, right? So I know we can do better. We must do better. We need to find the hope in our stories, and we need to build on it. Build on those common threads with respect, and that respect has to be one of our key values. Are you excited as I am about that? Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the topic of allyship. Allyship in a colonized Canada. Let's see how we're doing. Good. So what are some of these tangible things each of us can discern and grasp in our efforts together? So I made a little bit of a list, and you can take whatever you want from it and put the rest down if you don't want to use them. But allyship involves taking steps to challenge and change the systematic barriers individuals face in the workplace. Allyship goes beyond offering a sympathetic ear. Initiating change to create more of an inclusive environment at work, for example, requires sustained effort. So not just a one-off, right? Also take time to educate yourself. Know about your Indigenous history, but also engage in contemporary issues. That's a good plan forward. I know that the uncomfortable truths of things are not always easy to hear. And why that is because it's hard work. It's head work, but it's also heart work. So this is going to take time. Whether in casual conversations, or public forums, or around your dinner table with your loved ones, have the courage to dispel the myths and call out racism when you hear about it and when you encounter it. You know, because we're starting to see changes in the attitudes of our young people due to a lot of curriculum efforts that have happened within the school system in the last little while and within universities. In this truth-telling and coming alongside each other, building respectful relationships. Our young people have a different lens than we did. There is not one week that goes by that I don't see Indigenous leaders in workplaces everywhere. Students that I've journeyed with at the University of Winnipeg for 20 years, they're surfacing all over the place. Professional Indigenous people are ready to become the leaders of tomorrow. So our future is bright. Also, as an ally, sometimes it means getting out of your comfort zone. That is where we need the courage of the bear. Addressing discrimination and acknowledging bias can be very uncomfortable at times, especially when you figure you're the only one in that circle that sees it. But learning the right protocols and the sacred spaces that you are a part of in your community, that's important. But that means that you have to have some humility, you have to have some respect, and you have to have some willingness to observe and learn. It's worth taking the risk. And risk-taking will push us forward. Allyship is a learning process. And you know what? Nobody's perfect. We are going to have to risk in getting it wrong. Getting it wrong sometimes. But in the next breath, our elders often tell us that it is worth the risk because sometimes we will get it right. Isn't that lovely? I know. So, because so often I have people say, you know, okay, I'd like to invite an elder to a classroom, but I just don't know the protocol and how to ask an elder. Well, you can give them a paper, or you can sit down and you can go talk to an elder together. Like there's ways to do it that's not so scary, but sometimes it does feel like a little bit of a risky thing. But it's worth the risk because sometimes we get it right, all right? We each have a part to play. And all of us here come from different segments of the community. And one important point I want you to take with you is that no one size fits all ways of making changes happen. Tailor your own approach means that you're going to be genuinely supportive and will make an impact in your own way. If each of us has the desire to understand and to make efforts in decolonizing our places of work, our places of worship, our places in community, positive change is going to start happening. And it already is starting to happening. And this will mean that we have to continue to listen and listen some more. And it also means reflecting on our own role, sometimes understanding the power dynamics that are there, involved in allyship, and being open to criticism. We are on a learning journey together. Another point is that Indigenous people have a voice. It's important to listen and to apply Indigenous voices. So do not speak for Indigenous people, especially in a pan-Indigenous manner. Our First Nations traditions are different in some regard than our Métis traditions, that are different than our Inuit traditions. And within our First Nations traditions, there's multiple ways of doing things. So a pan-Indigenous manner isn't the way to go. Always ask an elder if you're not sure. Indigenous self-determination is a journey in finding our voice, and to take care not to have the misconception that Indigenous people need to be spoken for. We don't need fixing. And I can confirm to you that many Indigenous students who have knowledge, both from their cultures and their elders' teachings, alongside their university and college education programs, they are ready. They are ready to lead where they are planted. So trust. Take the risk and do a little bit of trusting. This means letting go of the controls. This is a mindset of a colonized Canada. Because there's been a shift happening, everybody. And I hope my life is nice and long so I can see it all come to be. This work of decolonizing in this world that we are in, it's about the future and the next generation. And it's not going to be just a passing trend. This is real work for the future, and very tangible action needs to take place for all these systematic improvements to happen. Those 94 calls to action, I almost added another one in there. Confronting status quo, we have to really remember to hold on to each other so we can be accountable on this long journey. Senator Murray Sinclair reminded us that the TRC report took efforts and years of work, but the work of reconciliation will be hard work, and it will take time. So now he's left that for you and me to do, and we have to take that seriously, and we thank him for that. So I found two beautiful murals that I wanted to highlight today. One is called We Are All Related, and it's on our City Hall here in Winnipeg. Artist Jeannie Whitebird said her art symbolizes the connectedness of the human spirit. She said when you look at the open palm of your hand, it looks similar to a maple tree. She says, I hope the spiritual nature of this message is captured. I always think about our spirits within us. If we close our eyes, that's what we are. We happen to be spirits first and foremost. And there's another beautiful mural there at Marymount School. Sometimes it's worth just taking a drive around and just go mural watching. It's fantastic. Now, there's an elder in my life, Elder Ruth Christie from Selkirk. She often counseled me. I used to go and visit her often, especially when I was having times of angst because I was just thinking things are not changing fast enough. And she used to say to me, my girl, Tanis, be like a willow tree. Be flexible and remain patient and persistent, but don't get bent out of shape. Change is happening, and even though it feels slow, she said to me, just think of where we were 20 years ago and think of where we are now. Just take a minute and think of that. Change is happening. So she was right. And I understand better now that building relationships and being an ally is based on trust. And that takes time to rebuild. But we're on the right path, my friends. We are on a long-term journey rather than a snip at a time. So that's important for us to take with us tonight. I'm not sure if that picture is a willow tree. I tried to find a willow tree. So if you're a horticulturist, come see me later, please. So true enough, gradual transformation is happening, but tonight, as we gather to ponder a new future together, I want us to bend a little more. Bend out of your comfort zone. No snapping of twigs, okay? But stretch like a willow branch to make something new. Because together we're paving the way for change. And this is for all of us to thrive. And this is a journey well worth taking. So as a final thought, I want to challenge each of you to get to know the Truth and Reconciliation 94 calls to action. If you have not already done so, take some time and visit them. I have heard the term ally up. I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it. And really, it's about breathing life into the calls to action. So we have lots of work ahead. So let's be committed to being intentional in our work towards reconciliation, not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of our little ones, the ones who will be the next generation of leaders, the next generation of change makers for our beautiful Manitoba. So Your Honor, your invitation and hospitality is a blessing to all of Manitoba. So I want to say thank you. And to everyone who played a part in making this evening happen, I want to say thank you, Miigwech, Marcy, for being a part of this evening and welcome me so warmly. Thank you.
Okay, folks, there is some time in the program. If anyone has any questions for Reverend Kolisnyk, we'd be most welcome to pose them at this time. Folks are looking for the informal refreshments and a better opportunity perhaps to socialize you with one-on-one. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. So I think just my own personal opinion, one of the best things of this speaker series is it helps us on our own individual journeys perhaps better understand, approach, and I think probably most importantly, participate in the reconciliation process. So I thank you for your enthusiasm, your optimism certainly, and your vision for allyship in this process. So please, again, a round of applause for our speaker tonight. Okay, so I think at this point we'll proceed to the next portion of the evening. As a reminder, we will have until about 8:45 time, at which point we'll be closing the evening and moving on with the rest of our evenings separately. So thank you again for speaking or being here and listening to our speaker series. And again, if you wish to keep abreast of what's happening here at Government House, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you very much.